Welcome back to Raw AI Solutions, the podcast where we explore how business leaders are navigating the fast-moving world of AI and digital transformation. I'm your host, Denise Powell, and today we are joined by Val Goldine, founder of IO Blend. So Val, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Denise. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you on board. I was going to say, would you like to kick us off and tell people a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So our company is focusing on data integration. The whole purpose of our business is to make data integration as powerful as possible and as simple as possible, because that is one of the biggest pain points for any kind of data initiative or digital transformation projects. So this is the solution that we've come up with, and we're doing a bunch of work around helping businesses get on the digital transformation journey, including AI these days, much quicker and much more cost efficient.
Yeah, that in such a crucial space for anything. Everything should be related to data. I was going to say, what brought you on that journey? What led you to starting your own business in this space?
The usual things, as probably everyone's, is the frustration with the existing status quo, right? And desire to change the world. But really, in reality, is we had the idea around improving this space for a long time, having worked in different companies, different industries, encountering the same exact data issues. My background is a lot of it's analytics, system integration, strategy work around change management, transformations, that kind of thing. And we always encounter the same issues. You know, you want to put a new CRM system in place, and you're going to drown in consultancies and development time, and things won't work, and the data is not in the right places. And it's been repeated across any business we've encountered, right? Exact same issues, right? Different technologies, different generations of technology, same exact issues. And they all came down to basically the way the process works, the way the mind works, the way we're used to delivering these sort of projects, that they always tend to unfold, right? People change, somebody leaves, blames the other person, and then somebody has to pick up the pieces, right? And this whole nightmare keeps going in circles. But the tooling is one of the big challenges behind it, because if you can put some kind of automation and simplification of the nitty-gritty stuff underneath, right? You can then eliminate a whole lot of processes that then fall apart, where you have communications issues, handovers, mapping of stuff, manual managing and cleaning. You remove that layer, and suddenly you still have the same kind of project going through, but you've halved it in complexity. So now it's a lot easier to manage and transform your business. So that's what sort of prompted us. Let's build this type of capability and give people ability to actually succeed rather than fight in frustration for years.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned some really good points there, especially on automation and data. It is so critical in today's society. But today we're going to be unpacking how transformation leaders are rethinking success metrics and why what gets measured can be quietly shaping into what actually gets done, and the two don't really necessarily match up. So, Val, have you seen any major shifts in the industry over the last year?
Over the last year, interesting to say. I mean, the biggest shift, obviously, everyone's jumping on the AI bandwagon, right? So it's everywhere. The problems are the same as we've just discussed, right? It's another change management program. Whether you are moving to, before it was the cloud, or you're doing business analytics, then we had all of these latest technologies that we had, data platforms, everything new, cloud-based data stacks, all that stuff. And now it's AI, and now it's agentic AI, right? And the pace of the change sort of kind of increased. People are still doing the projects from 2-3 years ago, because that's usually the span of delivery, right? And suddenly they said, okay, well, we're going to probably scrap all of that. It's all agentic AI. This is all wonderful world that's going to happen. We're going to jump this way. Here's the money, and so on. And sort of you're facing this same problem. Is like, oh, hang on a second. We've been doing this. Now we have to do this. And this particularly can get my job out. So Do I really want to do that? So a lot of this excitement is now marred by fear, and people are not necessarily being on the journey. So what you'll see really is a lot of the projects are in proof of concept stages, right? So the senior management gets wowed by the shiny new AI capabilities on a really small scale. Here's what we can do for you. And then, okay, well, here's the big thing. Let's put that into the business now. And there's the proper project management, all of that consultancy stuff and come in, get people on board, get them on the journey, get them to buy into the stuff. And that's where it falters, right? So at the moment, you say 12 months, I don't think we're there yet to observe the results because it's just a commotion, right? I mean, we're seeing that every day. But you can compare it to, say, 2-3 years ago when we had BI and cloud systems being implemented. Digital transformation is still rolling forward from that point, and the lessons are very similar. So
yeah. The one thing I find with AI, it gets implemented very quickly and you can start to see results very quickly, as opposed to like when you're implementing a brand new CRM system or ERP system. Those often take years to actually get delivered. And as you said, you get drowned in consultancy and so much change and everything, especially with the change control aspect of it. How do you think AI is going to differ to that transformational change?
I don't think it will. That's my gut feel, right? We have sort of two issues here. One is, yes, technology is wonderful. It empowers you, it gets you doing stuff very quickly. However, there is the issue of security. You can inadvertently upload sensitive data into the LLM, and then suddenly everybody knows about it, right? So you got to put layers and layers of safety and protection around that. One of our projects we're doing is for UK government, where obviously you can't use anything public, right? So everything is private and secure. So what happens there is you're setting up a whole system that is going to be a box, fully military grade proof secure box. And then you're setting up stuff in there. So even though you're doing AI, it's not just, oh, well, I'll just ask AI a question, right? So that process of setting up security, performance, all kinds of policies, governance around the data and the system, that stays. It's not much different from what we've done before. It's just different technology, right? And then the second thing is, do we fully trust the output of AI, especially now, right? Because the hype will tell you, look, this is all wonderful. One person can run the entire world, right? Not going to happen, right? This is a sales pitch. So you have to have humans in the loop. What kind of humans? At which stages, right? What kind of experience they need to have? Because again, the other notion I keep hearing, and it terrifies me, right? We don't need the juniors, right? We've got senior people, we give them AI, and they can run the whole thing, right? Okay, what happens 5 years from now when they retire? Who's going to pick up the pieces, right? If you don't have that journey of people learning, getting on board with the journey or doing anything, most of companies will disappear, right? There might be something else. The juniors will have to learn and earn money somehow other way, right? But you might no longer be building widgets or cars or whatever it is, right? Because no one would know how that works. So you got these two things. How do you bring them together, right? And I don't think it's as simple as, well, AI can do stuff quickly now for us. It can help, but I don't think it'll replace, maybe not in the near term, replace how we work. I mean, this has been hundreds of years evolving how we work as humans and in businesses, in companies, whatever you name it, right? And suddenly to switch that off to something completely new, it's not going to happen. It never happened in history before, unless the world unravels, obviously.
Yeah, I so agree with you. That real world experience really comes into play, because AI sure can do a lot for you, but you need to be able to look at the output of AI to see, is it actually making sense? And you need to have that experience to be able to do that. So when you get all these youngsters coming and go, oh, I know AI the latest, but do you have that experience to be able to assess what AI is actually giving you back? And does that look accurate or not? And get that gut feel. And I think that is going to start becoming a missing cog in the wheel. If we need to get that real life experience, we need to maintain that as well, and have AI to augment what we're doing in the office and not to take over everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's it always fascinates me because it's like we've been through this for decades. Internet came out, normal where data warehouses, data lakes, everything. It's going to change the world. It's going to change everything we do. Scrap everything old, right? Do the new things. And every time we basically get bit by it, right? Every single time, and we never seem to learn. It's just the hype gets bigger and bigger. But people forget that we're people, and this is all still done for people by people, right? If you just start switching off things or forcing them down very quickly, you will feel resistance and the pushback. And that usually takes time. I mean, I'm quite open for new technologies. I'm always, excited seeing new gadgets. But even then, it takes time to get used to things, right? My daughter is much younger than me, and she can much quicker pick up these things. But even then, she gets used to something, and she likes that. I would say, well, we're all using ChatGPT these days, right? So, well, why don't you try Anthropic or something, right? No, or Gemini, right? I'm used to it, but it might be better. Yeah, but I already know how it works, and it's good enough for what I do. So try to force them to switch. You really need to have some kind of incentive or a journey to take them there so they can forgo one technology for another one or one process for another one, right? And I don't think senior leadership often sees that clearly, right? To them, it's like, okay, next quarter we're done, right? Because that's the ROI. Here's what we're going to deliver. Put it in the budget. I don't think so. So yes.
Totally get that. So with AI coming up, I know this conversation, this podcast is not about AI right now, but I just got one more question. With AI coming up, what are you doing as a company to stay ahead of that curve?
So fascinating and a very good question, right? We sort of got rolled into the AI by the nature of what we've built, which to the credit of my CTO, is a genius. So what we've done is we've built our solution with such flexibility that you can essentially build in any capabilities on top of what you want to do as a data integration organically into our solution. What I mean by that is we can embed AI directly into the ETL pipeline without additional architecture, without a reworking of anything. And you actually can run and execute AI agents within the data pipeline. So suddenly, not only are you able to push structured data, analyze, blend it, transform it, apply quality rules, all that good stuff that you would normally do, suddenly you can bring in unstructured data, right? So you can ingest documents, you can analyze documents, let the LLM produce the answer. You can put validation loops, and as many as you like, till you refine the answer. You enable the system to learn from its mistakes. So you push the data in a circular motion, right? And you have a human in the loop that can feed into errors that were not processed by the machine, right? Edge cases. And then all of that is flowing through your pipeline, and you are integrating data from all kinds of data sources on the fly in real time. So now your decision makers don't have to question, where's that coming from? Is this correct? Or who's processing this new contract that's come in, an hour ago? Because we need the information from it. It's all done automatically. So what we've done is we're enabling adoption of AI much more simply than what you can do with traditional technologies that are been established, and they're telling you, oh, that's the only way to run AI properly, because they're selling widgets, so everything is a widget around you. But if you start turning this whole picture in 3 dimensions and say, actually, you can do things much more efficiently, just like AI is disrupting the whole analytics industry. Now you can do integration in the same way. And so we sort of kind of became at the forefront of this, because by not really planning it, really, to be
Yeah, yeah,
honest. But
yeah,
it works really, really powerfully. So
yeah. So I've got two questions there. I'm assuming then to be able to ingest the data, as you were saying, your data, it needs to be in a clean state, or you need to understand your data and where the source of truth is, or where your source of the data is actually being derived from. And the second thing is, if you're using AI to sit on top of your systems and ingest the data so you can get real-time information, so executives can actually make real-time decisions, does that mean things like data lakes and data warehouse will soon become a thing of the past?
well, you said that. I mean, we got many huge businesses that will tell you otherwise. But theoretically, what it means is you have more than a single way of doing things now, right? The warehouse and the lake will stay simply because for certain types of architectures, it's a natural way of doing things. Just bring stuff in, leave it there, and then maybe we'll get to it when we can, right? So in certain use cases, you will need that, right? You can use it for archiving of data, for historical processing, kind of. I mean, it's got its use, right? When warehouse been around forever. What's changing is, do you need to use or rely on the warehouse to do everything with the data? So do you need to bring everything centrally to then run your enterprise, right? Or do you want to do and build this giant data platform, full semantics, full modeling of the data, right? Whether you need it or you don't, you may need it, but it might be in 5 years' time. You might forget by then that you've modeled it, right? Yes, they're all good data practices, but are they relevant to what you do today or in the, say, tomorrow even, right? What you want is the flexibility to answer business problems now, quickly. Look, we're buying this business, right? They're doing something related to our activities, but something, different. And we don't have a year to integrate them. We need that information to make decisions because we're doing some project in, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, right? And we need that information in 2 months' time. If you're building this whole giant lake data platform, good luck. I mean, you're going to need an army of engineers to do it.
Yes.
But if you can do a use by use case using standardized modular tools, right? So they don't disrupt what you do in terms of, oh, they'll break all of our understanding of our data estate and the CIO go nuts, right? No, because you're still following the standardized, generalized parts, but you're doing it on a use case by use case. So you can quickly stitch things together, prototype them, run them, inject AI on a smaller scale where it will work much better than, company-wide straight away, because good luck with that one. But to answer that particular use case very quickly, with the right tools, with the very few people actually doing stuff, subject matter experts, a couple of techies, right? You suddenly delivering positive ROI very quickly, and the business moves forward. Because you might have bought this business thinking this is your strategy for the next 3 years, but something changes. You got to pivot in 18 months' time because you've got a new opportunity. And you're building this massive thing in the background that is just going to be anchoring you, right? You don't need that. You're going to pivot. Let's go quickly. So you don't want to write off tens of millions of dollars of investment every time you want to pivot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to float with the river, so to speak.
So with your data solution that you're putting in place for companies, and access to real-time data and real-time reports, how do you think that's changing the way senior leaders are measuring the metrics of what they're actually delivering and making those decisions? How's that changing?
It's been a journey, because think of it this way, right? The CFO was used to seeing an end of the day financial restatement, right? Once a week or something like that, right? Suddenly they can see, they don't have to wait for it to be compiled, right? He can just glance on the phone and say, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. Pick up the phone, give Susie a call. What are we doing about this, right? So you can move much quicker now and react, or being even proactive to things that you couldn't do before. I mean, my background is aviation, and we often did reactive stuff, right? So after the events happen. So you'll do a lot of planning. You'll put on processes that will stop things from happening, right? On the mainstream. But there will be always edge cases around that, right? And these things will slip through. So you're reacting to an event that shouldn't have happened, really, because we've known all the variables that could affect it. We just didn't act on them. We always look at them post fact, right? And then you're hoping to learn for the future and then prevent that from happening, right? But the fact occurred, right? And then that's going to cost you something. So with the real-time data, you can see where the things are developing before they roll out into the event that you don't want to happen, or you want to happen, you just miss it, right? So you can put indicators up front, and you have AI sifting through all of this in real time, right? And it could be massive volume of data. And then you will stop or speed up whatever you want to do before it occurs. And you can influence the outcomes up front. Now, that is a very powerful capability that real-time data and AI are bringing. And that's what makes the senior execs very, very interesting, especially like finance, banking, because they can be much more proactive, right? Traditional industries still lagging. Your sort of tech industry always leads forward. Then you've got these people who really depend on the split-second decisions to make money. And then everybody else sort of kind of, okay, well, we'll get there eventually. But the value is there, massive value. I mean, we changed one company from going a week in arrears analytics to real-time streaming analytics, and they save $1.5 million per year in wastage. That's the difference.
Yeah. And also the great thing as well with AI, moving away from data, well, similar link to data, is like machine maintenance. Sometimes AI is brilliant where it can tell you actually when a machine requires parts to be changed so you don't have the breakdown, which can also save a company millions as well. But you need the data, even that unstructured data, for years past so it can predict the years to come. So AI is so good in terms of changing metrics and how we actually view businesses and changing how we look at things. What do you think, or what have you seen has been the biggest change in terms of how people are getting things delivered in your area?
So AI is really, really pushing the boundaries around our industry, specifically the developer industry, right? So a lot of coding is now being assisted by AI. And that's a good thing because you can do more things quickly with fewer people, engineers, and iterate and experiment, right? Now that's a game changer. What used to be, for instance, writing a little software code take a few weeks, you can do it in a few hours now, and then iterate and test and so on, right? So that's exciting. The other issue to this is it's a free for all, right? So it's code vibing, and that's what it's called nowadays, right? So everybody's sort of jumping on that, like, hey, anybody can build now, right? So you're gonna have this whole wild west of apps and software and different approaches. Natural, new technology, everyone always explores that. At some point, this will have to become a bit more structured and centralized. Now, the next question would be, will the machines write the code from scratch to the end? Or will we still have people doing stuff, right? And that is an unknown yet. Machine typing a code for a machine, very efficient. Is it creative enough? We don't know yet. We cannot think. But is it augmenting what we do today? Absolutely. Yeah. So as a helpful tool to people, brilliant, right? In our industry, moving the whole generations forward, right? But what happens, in 5 years' time? Will there be no developer industry left because the machines would do it all? then that's a question.
Yeah, there's so many unknowns out there. As you said, it's still quite young. It's the latest buzzword. It's still really young. We don't know what the long-term implications are going to be. But actually with that, if we're zooming out a little bit, where are you looking to take IO Blend over the next 6 to 12 months? Where would you like to be?
Well, I'd like to be on the map. much bigger than where we are now, right? But the real goal is we're believers in AI. We support technology because we see this potential. I mean, my technical guys working with AI before AI became the thing, right? So we go 10, 15 years ago, right? Um, the So the potential is there. Lots of opportunities to help move the dial, so to speak. So what we want to be is we want to be at the forefront to enable companies to take better advantage of it, right? So the temptation is let's just jump into it, see what happens, right? So we want to give them a little bit of structure, architecture underneath it, commonality that they can then use that as a springboard to experiment without destroying all the background stuff, because that'll take them years to rebuild afterwards, right? And the second thing is to allow companies not to spend a massive fortune of trying to get there, because that's always the bottleneck, right? You spend 7, 8 figures to do a thing that you really could have done on the spreadsheet if you wanted to, with 3 people running the spreadsheet, right? I mean, if we're really brutal about that, right? Now, if you could do that at a fraction of a price, suddenly you can have more of these things. You can have people adopting the technology a lot more easily because they can then play around, experiment, deliver value, tangible value very quickly. And that's what we want to be. We want to be that enabler.
Focusing within the data arena.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always
Yeah,
data. So the data is the backbone of AI, right?
absolutely.
I guess probably should have led with that. Absolutely. So the big issues we see again now around quality of data, timeliness of it, provenance, right? Because if AI is making decisions on data, garbage in, garbage out, right? And if then you have fewer people in the loop validating what's coming in and out of it, then you're relying more on the automated process to filter good data through and bad data out. And if you don't have that mechanism set up robustly, your AI is going to be a disaster, right? So that's the whole data aspect of it is the key to enabling AI. AI is then empowering people to do more and see the world bigger. But you need to have basics. Think of it as a car. You've got the engine, you've got the wheels, right? And the AI would be the steering wheel where people can drive. I can go left, I can go right, I can go faster, I can go slower, right? But you need that thing that delivers the drive itself solidly and reliably.
Yeah. And what are your biggest challenges that you're facing to be able to achieve the target in the next 12 months?
Biggest challenge is probably the hype from the bigger companies, because they're basically have a lot more money in marketing spent they can do. So they will say this is the way to do things, and and that's it. So that's number one. Number two is around adoption of new technologies, because remember, we all come from, say, 20, 30 years of experience of doing things in a certain way. If you then suddenly disrupting it and saying, look, actually, forget what you've done there. You can do these things now, right? In this way, much simpler. Making that switch, even mentally, is very hard, right? So you sort of walk people through on the journey, and you can start augmenting their existing stuff with technology rather than replacing it outright, right? So these are the two key challenges that we see going
Yeah.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you could resolve one issue today with like a click of a finger, what would it be?
I would say adoption straight away, because I want people to try. Because once they try, they're hooked, right? I mean, the hardest part is to do that mental switch. Perhaps there's a magic formula to that, which I haven't cracked yet.
Maybe there's AI there can teach us.
It might be AI, but our use cases involving AI are attracting attention. That's for sure, because it seems it's a major pain point for people to move away from the POCs into production, and this is where we come in. We make
Yeah.
that delivery.
And I think there's a change in the market where people are actually waking up to realizing data is the key to everything. We need to have good data. And if we're going to get good information out of it, and if we want to make the most out of AI, we need that data in place.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. And it'll never go away. It'll just be more data, all kinds of data, because we'll be measuring more things, we'll be demanding more things to be measured, because now we have AI that's hungry for additional information to process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I read this one statistic that in the last 3 years, there's more data around now than what there ever has been accumulative.
That's right. And
It's
that's
crazy.
without social media.
Yeah, exactly. Before we wrap up, if you had to give yourself one piece of advice to yourself when you first started, what would that advice have been to yourself?
Be more bold, I think, more aggressive. That would be, believe in yourself more. But when you start off, you never know. Do you know what I mean? It's we're humans, right? So we have doubts, we have hesitations. What if not? But looking back, hindsight always more powerful, right?
Yeah.
Just be more aggressive, more powerful. But you learn. I wouldn't change the journey for a second. It's very interesting. I mean, we've been doing this for 6 years, so best time of my life in terms of work. Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
There's a difference. When you work for yourself, there's blood, sweat, and tears are going to be your reward at the end as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And you need a lot of patience and thick skin, because it does come back hard on you at times. But like you said, the rewards then, even the seeing, people gratitude from being helped. You help somebody and they are like, well, thank you. You really changed how we do things. And this was really, really powerful for us. That's more than even the financial reward, because, that's what you really feel. And that's why we're doing this. Really seeing more happy faces using data rather than frustrated and screaming at each other.
That's brilliant. Well, Val, that's been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much. I was going to say, for those listeners who would like to know more about IO Blend and Val, contact details will be below in the description. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to have you on the call, and wishing you all the best in 2025.
No, it's been a pleasure, Denise. Thank you so much for having me.